Gurpreet, please go on mute. Hello, hello, hello. It is 6 p.m. on the dot, and we are just going to wait for everyone to join the webinar. There's some people already here joining us. If you have been here before, you know the drill. Just let us know where you are dialing in from in the chat box. Always nice to know where people are calling in from. Our audience is very international, which is nice. We are all based in London, I suspect, and I am in the office, so welcome to my office. And I think the guys are all in the office too. Thumbs up if you are. Great. It's a long night for us over here, guys. We have Birmingham. Welcome. Welcome. I hope the weather in Birmingham is pretty good, actually. Cambridge. Ah, nice on the river. Happy days. You guys are very prompt, I have to say. Quite impressive. And let us know if you have joined us before, by the way. Or if this is your first time. We've been going since June, so we've had a few repeat attendees, which is nice. We tend to start about 2-3 minutes past, so we'll just give it a bit of time. First time. Welcome, we're here. This is going to be a really interesting, hey, first time again. This is going to be a really interesting session actually for the people from the UK, because actually we're featuring a UK council, a London borough. So those familiar with councils and how they work, and I'm sure Paul and the team are going to expand a bit more on that. But interesting that you can actually join the investment industry from your local council. So secrets that we have in this industry, and they hold a lot of power. So there we go. We'll just wait for a little while really quickly, and then we can start off. It is very quiet here in my office. I am the only person here actually, which is quite sad, but there we go. And I'm sure Paul and the guys are probably the only people in their offices too. So there we are. This is going to be a really interesting session, I think, because now we're hearing from the perspective of an asset owner. Hey, hi, everybody who's just joined us. Just let us know where you're calling in from, as usual. And also, if you've joined us before, of course. Don't forget, all of the questions go into the Q&A box. Chat with us in the chat box, but any questions for the team, please put them into the Q&A box. And we will start in a little while. The 1 hour actually goes by really quickly, and Paul, you guys are going to realize that soon. Cool. Okay, so let us get started quickly, and I'm sure anybody who joins us after will just kind of catch up. So thank you again. We are back with the 26th virtual careers fairs. So for those of you joining us for the first time, welcome. And for those of you joining from before, welcome back. As you know, my name is Rachel Green, if you've joined us before, and I'm your host for the evening, and I am also the founder of the Skills Workshop. It's actually October already, and I cannot believe we started this program back in June, and we only have about 15 more firms being featured between now and the end of October. And then we've got 2 more sessions in November on competency questions, and that is it. We are done. As a reminder, all of our sessions are free to register, and all the details, I believe, right now are in the chat box. So you can register for, yes, they are. You can register for all of our upcoming sessions, and you can also rewatch the sessions that we've had as well since June. So head over to the website, have a look at the sessions. We are here with the team from the London Borough of Wandsworth and also Richmond. You've got Paul, Coral, Gurpreet, and Martin. And if I can just ask them to introduce themselves really briefly, they can definitely do that better than I can. So if we go to Paul, and then we just go around the table, if that's okay.
Hi, good evening, guys. So I'm Paul Gigliotti. I'm the Assistant Director of Resources for Richmond and Wandsworth Borough Councils.
Hello, everyone. I'm Martin Doyle. I'm Head of the Pensions Shared Service and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a short while.
Hi, I'm Coral Baxter. I'm Head of Pension Fund Investment and Accounting.
Gerprit's on mute. This is live on Zoom, guys. And we're live. His lips are moving, but I can't hear his voice. Gerprit,
You're off mute.
can you say something? No. Okay, listen. So we're gonna come back to Gerprit. It's fine. Let's do a bit of housekeeping, and then we'll come back. Not to worry. Gerprit, when it's your turn, maybe just do a bit of intro, and then you can go into your bit.
Can you hear me now?
Oh,
you can hear me now, yeah. Hi, yeah. For the third time, I'm Gurpreet Gurwal, and I'm the accountant to the pension fund.
Thank you so much. You can just go back on mute. That's okay. And Martin, just put yourself on mute as well. Thank you. Okay, a bit of housekeeping. Guys, you know, this is a webinar. We won't be able to see your faces. Please put the questions in the Q&A box. We will get started right now. So without further ado, please grab your pen and paper and let us get into tonight's workshops. I think Gurpreet's going to share his slides. And then Paul will take it away.
Yep. So, hi guys. So, so as I said earlier, I'm Paul Gigliotti. So I'm the Assistant Director of Resources. So what that really means is that within London, there's 33 different London boroughs. We're responsible for many things, and it does vary from area to area. I noticed some of you from Cambridge and Birmingham. Your councils will do things slightly differently, and you'll have different responsibilities. Some will be responsible for schools, some will be responsible for social services, but not all. But most of them, certainly when it comes to counties and metropolitan boroughs, like cities, and also elements and the various different boroughs within London, we all are responsible for managing our own pension fund. It's slightly unique in the scenario that we don't have one fund to run all of the various different LGPS, which is London Government Pension Schemes. We all have the same set of rules in relation to how benefits operate, but how we invest our money is all down to individuals on the relevant sort of funds. So we're called the Wandsworth Fund, but actually we've got two boroughs that sit within us, because in 2016, Richmond Council joined with Wandsworth Council for the purpose of running all of its services. So all of the people that you see on here today talking, we're actually jointly employed by both boroughs, but we have just one pension fund. And that is relatively unique. There is only one other entity that's done that after us, because it was only last year, which had to merge the two funds together. And in doing that, we had to get our own Act of Parliament to come through to manage that and to deal with that. And that created some uniqueness and some challenges, really, in the sense that we had different funding levels. And by that, what we mean is that you have the ability to try to invest money, which can go well or go bad, and that will vary up and down, but you're still responsible for paying all of your liabilities out. And actuaries will come together, and Coral will probably talk more about how some of that operates when it comes to the accounting terms. But you need to have enough money in your pot in order to make sure that you pay out the pensioners who need to see it. And that's what we mean by funding levels. Have you got the right set amount of money available in order to do that? And that helps to shape the different strategies that you would have. So Richmond and Wandsworth are in different positions. So we had to try and create a new strategy and new asset classes that would allow us to coordinate those collectively. And all of this, we didn't have anything to fall back on. As the rest of the guys know, my normal favourite friend is Google, to try and help me do anything and to help me work and work out which sort of direction we were going. Unfortunately, Google was no help, because we had to do it from scratch. And so it was dealing with all of our partners, dealing with our unions to try to work out how are we going to make sure that we do this as effectively and efficiently as possible, and to take account of individuals' concerns. And part of those were linked to the different political dynamics. We've got two councils and we've got three main political parties, and they have different levels of control within it. So to try to come up with a strategy and in an environment that is suitable for all, it isn't just about making sure you've got the best return. If you've been involved in discussing with any of the other employers in this project who are in, just primarily talking about investing the money, we've got other issues that to go along around social dynamics and the social element of how we invest, but also elements such as climate change. Climate change is something that is first and foremost in the way that we go about investing, built into that with other issues such as the social element and governance. But we are, whilst we're a political animal in the sense of being an authority, when it comes to the fund, we have first and foremost a fiduciary duty to get the best return. But there's ways that you can manage that, and there is the political aspects that will play more of a role for us than you would do if you were in the private sector. But it does mean that if you were interested in areas such as making a social impact change, making a positive impact on the environment through investing, then something like local authority pension funds is a very good way to get involved. Linked to that, we've got what's known as a pooling and agenda, whereby we don't do it on our own. There are about 8 or 9 different pools up and down the country where we collectively put our money together to get the best return. So the value of our fund is roughly about £3 billion. We are the largest fund in London, but collectively across London, it's circa 40 billion and plus. So if you're investing that sum of money, you've got much more abilities to be able to do different types of projects than you would do on your own. For example, infrastructure. So we've just recently invested in some new renewable funds. So looking at solar panels, wind farms, looking at transition type assets to try and help get those electric vehicle charges out there, which, bearing in mind what's been happening recently in relation to petrol prices or lack of petrol, just shows you how much those sort of investment is needed. And by working in the local authority and pooling our money together, we can make some real positive changes in how we're going to live our life in the next sort of 10 to 20, 30 years as those requirements change. And us as a local authority are going to be directly involved through investing heavily. Cyber risks are massive risk for all of us, and that is a key challenge no matter who you work for. Unfortunately, there are individuals out there that want to create and cause challenges and problems. So again, there's opportunities that could potentially come up, not exclusively within our fund, but working within the local authority to help to prevent challenges and help to prevent attacks that are coming in to either disrupt what we do or potentially to steal the money. And we've got particular barriers and protections that we've put in place using third parties, using custodians, all to help try and mitigate that sort of risk that happens. But they are a challenge that we face. And staff's knowledge and skills. One of the reasons why we're here today talking to you guys is it's very difficult to keep good quality staff. We're always looking at different avenues, and you wouldn't necessarily have to come in through an investment route. General people here may talk to you today about their pathway into the authority and into their role. Me personally, like I said, I'm the assistant director, so I'm one of the senior members of the council, not just within the fund, but I started at a relatively junior level, working alongside Martin in the pensions admin department. After a year, I moved into audit, progressed through the accountancy route, became the head of audit, and then started taking, having other roles that were brought into it, including procurement, health and safety, and now pensions. So just because you don't necessarily see a job coming up for grabs in investment, so this is really an interest to you. If you join a larger organisation, you will have the opportunities to potentially diversify and move into different areas. Gurpreet will talk a bit more about his pathway in through the graduate programme, and again how he came in through a slightly different path and has moved into investments. But again, there's great opportunities for people to flourish in this sort of environment. Gurpreet, if you just move on to the next slide, please. I'll talk to you briefly about, I mentioned it was £3 billion roughly, our fund, but to talk about how we construct our investment strategy. You'll see that we are on a pathway, and that's why you've got the percentage of fund as is and our target. So every 3 years, we have an asset, we have a valuation which will look at our funding levels. Following on from that, we'll look at how we intend to invest our money to try to ensure that we keep up to speed with the changing dynamics of the fund, and we will rebalance our assets in accordance with those reviews. So we're currently moving roughly just over £1 billion around as we exit the UK equity and go into a more global basis. But I mentioned about how we're impacting on climate change. We're also changing the way that we invest. So we've moved our passive money, or in the process of moving all of our passive money, into more greener alternatives. So funds such as the Legal and General's Future World Fund, which doesn't have exclusions. It won't exclude things like fossil fuels, but it will have a significant tilt to ensure that it makes a positive change. So, for example, companies such as Shell, you may think on one side are bad because they're fossil fuels, and if you listen to some of the activists out there that are gluing their hands to the motorways today, you'll see that they would probably want you to divest in that. We believe that this investment is not the right pathway. By engaging with companies, you can make some real positive change. So somebody like Shell own Ubertricity, and we'll be looking to develop and build 50,000 electric charging vehicle points over the next couple of years. And that's through engagement. They didn't do that through personal choice and such. It's through active engagement with active shareholders, trying to get them to move and avoid the risk of having stranded assets and invest their money and technical ability into new innovative ways. So that's the sort of types of things that we're dealing with on equity. Multi-asset credit is it's like bonds, but a bit more different on the lower end of the credit spectrum, and you get a higher rate of return. So they are a bit riskier. They are different. But we need the income, and unfortunately with bonds at the moment, we do have bonds, as you'll see on there, but they deliver very low returns. So at times like this, and you need to get extra revenue, you look for things like multi-asset credit or in property. Excuse me, not necessarily the best of investments to have had over the last sort of 12 to 24 months, but as our funds are not actively invested in retail, so we've got quite a few offices and warehouse type sort of funds, and as a result, they are doing well for us in the new sort of dynamics as we move towards utilizing more of Amazon and other online retailers. And finally, infrastructure and private debt, they are again more challenging for us and it require a lot more time. We will liaise with organisations. I'll use Naveen because Rachel's here and works with them. So they are one of our managers who actually work with us on more than one front, actually on both on debt and on property, in order to try to maximise return. So it's looking at some of the private markets, again lending money to companies that may not necessarily be able to get it through the general banking sector, but would allow them to flourish and again in return give us a slightly increased return than you would do from other assets. So that's it in a very, very quick whistleblow tour of the fund and how we invest. No doubt there'll be question and answers at the end, but I'll leave that for now and I'll pass you over to Martin.
Thanks, Paul. Gurpreet, if you just move to the next slide, that's great. Thank you. My name's Martin Doyle, and I'm head of the Pensions Shared Service. So I work on the pensions administration side. So in simple terms, Paul and his team gather all the money and invest it and into this £3 billion pot, and then I try and spend it. And we on these liabilities that are merging our pensioners. So our role is to gather the contributions from members to collect information from employers and advise members and employers on the pension scheme, and as I say, pay out those pension benefits. But for us, it's so important to be accurate in the information that we're gathering, and that attention to detail on accuracy of data, so that when the actuaries come along and assess our future liabilities, how much in the future we'll have to pay our members as pensions, that we've got all the figures there ready so they can make accurate assumptions. If they're not accurate, the actuary will make the most conservative assumption and will ask the employers to put aside more money for those future liabilities. So it can cost millions of pounds if pensions administration isn't done right. So as Paul said, we're in the local government pension scheme, which is the largest public service pension scheme in the UK. It's bigger than NHS pensions or teachers pensions. We've got more than 6 million LGPS members across the England and Wales. It's a national scheme, and it has been going up and up since auto enrolment at the beginning of the 2010s. That has drawn a lot more people into paying workplace contributions, and so we've got many more members than we used to have in the LGPS. And across the whole of the LGPS, we have about 280 billion pounds worth of monies stored in pension funds. So it's a very big operation. There's opportunities nationwide in it, and if you are skilled, your opportunities are across England and Wales and in any part of the country. For my personal journey, I started as a trainee without any experience of finance or pensions many years ago, and I've moved through the ranks until now I'm head of the pensions shared service. So we not only administer the pensions for Wandsworth, we also have other councils in the arrangement: Camden, Merton, Richmond, Waltham Forest in the arrangement. We're administering what's called final salary and care benefits. So it's a very good pension scheme for our members and for our staff working in it. And across those 5 different councils, we, from our team here in Wandsworth, hosted in Wandsworth, we're administering for over 100,000 members across London. Gurpreet, if you could move it on. So you may be wondering, would you be suited to the LGPS administration side? And it depends on your set of skills. I think you would anyone going into administering pensions has to be a communicator, has to explain very complex topics to members of staff who are across a wide range of backgrounds, and their financial knowledge may be very differing depending who you speak to. So it's all about that kind of those listening skills, and then communication skills. You also have to be able to prioritize your workload and have some numerical skills. But as I said, it is a national scheme. There are up and down the country lots of different roles and many opportunities to progress, Gurpreet. And so in terms of recruitment, what do we do here at Wandsworth? Well, Wandsworth as a council, Wandsworth and Richmond have revised the way that they recruit, and we're looking to get the most talent, opening up to get a wider workforce as possible. There is real value in getting people from different backgrounds together in an organisation. If you're all from the same background and your worldview will be very similar, and that space for new ideas and thinking from the left field, having different points of view, you lose that if you just have a very similar workforce. So the councils have changed the way it recruits. It does a lot of anonymized data gathering in the recruitment process. So things that we don't need to know are excluded from the early parts of the recruitment process, just to concentrate on merit and excluding anything else that's not relevant. And we also aim to have interview panels that are diverse. And drawing from my experience from recruiting, I just wanted to pinpoint what I thought was important for those of you who are thinking of putting in job applications. And I think Rachel has put our link to the Wandsworth careers jobs website. What we're looking for, and as a council, is for every job, we put a job profile with it, and it has a set of criteria that you need to have to do that job. And then it is just a simple assessment based on the interviews, who has met that criteria in the best way. And if you're making applications, don't forget to use all your relevant experience. It doesn't just have to come from work. Thanks, Rachel, that's the website. It doesn't have to come from your experience from work. It can come from experience from college, school, leisure activities. You've got transferable skills that you use there in terms of organisation, prioritisation, teamwork. You've got a lot of experience that you can put forward. And when you put that experience forward, we're often nervous in job interviews and we try and throw information out to an answer as quickly as possible. But if you remember to take a step back and frame your experience, your answers in a well-constructed way. And I've used the what's called the STAR model here, but there are other ways of looking at this. But when you get into an interview situation, you're asked about your skills, your experience. Frame it in a way that really tells a story to the person interviewing you. So talk about, if they're asking you for a particular skill, say prioritizing work, or when you've been in a difficult situation and you've had to think quickly and come out the other side, set it up. What was the situation you were in? Set out the challenges that was in that situation. Paint a real full picture of it. What tasks did you have to employ? How what did you do to overcome that? What actions did you take? So incorporate it in a real story of just drawing the full picture. And then, of course, what was the result? Was it a success? Did you get feedback either from customers or from a tutor or a head teacher? Did you get any kind of rating of that it was a success? Perhaps it was implemented afterwards. So really think about framing your answers. Gurpreet, if you could just move me on to the and thinking about what drew me to the LGPS would be the same to draw anybody, I think, into the LGPS and working for a local authority. First of all, we're all committed to working in a public service, non-profit role. We're supporting perhaps some of the most important workers in the country, and so even though we're a back office staff, we do feel that we're supporting all the people who are working in schools and in the other roles like social work roles, but there are many other roles that we're supporting. And also we provide training. As Paul said, it is reliant on knowledge and skills, so we do invest in that. We've got a relationship with the Pensions Management Institute, which is a nationally recognised organisation for providing pensions administration training, and we send all our staff to the Pensions Management Institute to get industry-wide recognised qualifications. Plus we do a lot of in-house coaching and mentoring. And the council working arrangements, it's leave entitlement, I think, is generous. You can look that up, and we have options on now we're hybrid working, we've got compressed working, different models to get that work-life balance right for you. And not least, don't forget the membership of the local government pension scheme. It is part of your reward package when you join a council. It's a significant contribution to your pay, although it's deferred pay, is still part of your remuneration package, and around about 20% you could expect your employer to pay in. And I think that Gurpreet, is there another slide for it? No, that's my section, so I shall pass on to Coral. Thank you.
Hiya. I'm Coral Baxter, as I introduced myself earlier. I'm the head of pension fund investment and accounting team in the council. So my team is quite a small team. There's only 4 people in my team. We deal with, as the name suggests, accounting for the pension fund and looking at the investments. So in terms of the investments, we're making sure we get the fund managers in line with the political decisions that have already been made by members in setting the investment strategy. And in terms of the accounting, it's not quite as dry as you think it is. I'm going to try and make accounting a bit sexy for you. I know it's an uphill struggle, especially on a Friday evening, but I'll do my best. So you get involved in things like doing the accounts for a £3 billion pension fund, which is quite interesting, as well as the straight end of year accounting. We get involved in things like the cash flow management for the pension fund. So where Martin has said he's making sure he spends all this money that we're collecting in, we're making sure we know how much money we've got, when it's coming in, and that there's enough money in the bank account to pay out the pension payments that Martin's making on his team. So to do this, we need a variety of skills and knowledge. Because we're doing more than just accounting on the team, and it's a small team, you get quite involved in other people's work, and that's often a benefit if you're curiously minded, don't want to just get stuck in a rut sort of thing. If you want a bit of variety, working in a small team in a local authority environment can often give you a bit more scope to see what everyone else on the team is doing to help out with cover. In terms of the skills that you need, obviously, well, hopefully, obviously, you have to have good numerical skills, is a key one. An interest in things like investments, an interest in accounting, and an understanding of accounting. You don't need to have all of these things on day one. One of the things that I would emphasise, as well as Martin has, is that we are committed to training at councils. So if you've got some relevant experience of some sort, doesn't have to be managing a £3 billion pension fund, could be, I don't know, you've helped out with the accounts for your local scout group or something like that. Anything like that would help you if you're interested in working in this area. So it's strong numerical skills, strong communication skills, and also being able to do analytical work, look at the figures in front of you, understand what they represent, and be able to present that to others. Like I say, it's not just the year-end accounting, which can be a bit dry. Some people prefer that, some people don't. But we also do monitoring of the cash flow position in year. And in accounting more generally, it's a small part of the work, but I manage my own budget for the team and assist other colleagues, because I'm a qualified accountant, with managing their own budgets and monitoring their own resources during the year. Also, going back to what Paul mentioned about the funding levels and the fund valuation that Martin also touched on, when we do have this assessment on a regular basis of what the future payments to and from the fund are, what we're doing on the accounts is contributing to that. So we will have future cash flows for the fund. Our investment decisions will tie into that, where we've got an assumed return on investments, and all of that will add up to future cash income inflows to the fund. And again, on Martin's side, he will give the information on what the outflows are going to be for the membership. So it all ties up together. Although we're different teams, again, we're working closely with our colleagues in other teams. Gurpreet, next slide, please. This is a very busy slide. I'm not going to read it all out to you. What I'm getting at here is local authority accounting does cover a lot of areas. So for me personally, I joined the council, not this council, a different council, when I left school at 18. I joined the council for two main reasons. As Martin already said, it's working for the community, so you can feel that you are giving something back, as it were. And also because I left school at 18 with A-levels, and the council was offering to train me for a professional qualification, which I've now achieved. The professional qualification that's most relevant to local government accounting is SITFA. It's chartered accounting, but it's very much focused on a public sector specialism. So while we would encourage anyone who joins the council to take that qualification, we would also look favourably on other accounting qualifications if you want to work in accountancy. Over my career, I have worked in 4 different councils, although I'm not quite sure if that's right or not, because I worked at Richmond when it merged with the SSA, if I should count that as 5 or not. And I'm now working for Wandsworth Pension Fund, maybe 6. Local governments like that. So I've worked for a variety of councils. I've worked in a variety of different positions. The environment we work in, there are a lot of people from different backgrounds. You get to see the council is very, very supportive of things like apprenticeships and things like that. So we are quite open to people applying from all different levels of experience and knowledge, and we would look to support people in that. I came through a trainee route within the council, for which has greatly benefited me. It has given me a range of experience working on things like the pension fund, working on capital projects, working on the more technical accounting side, which I personally have found I preferred, but it's not for everyone. It's quite dry. But also you can look at a more human focused thing in accounting in a wider setting. So you can be working with people who are managing their budgets, helping them understand what they're doing, helping them put together a business case. So helping, I don't know, if a social worker wants to restructure their team and take on more people, to make a business case for that, why we should be doing that, and hopefully get real benefits for the wider community in the things that we're doing. That's all I wanted to say now. I'm not going to say too much about myself as a trainee, because Gurpreet's coming after me and he's a recent trainee. So I will hand you over to Gurpreet now to talk a bit more about his experience.
Live on Zoom again. Gurpreet's on mute. Gurpreet, you want to try again?
That's better. Right. Right. In case you missed my introduction again, I'm the accountant to the pension fund. I've been with the local authority just over 3 years. I came straight out of university as a trainee accountant. I chose local authority because I was looking for a trainee role in or around London, and as soon as this opportunity presented itself, I grasped it, and here I am. As you've probably all heard, there are various entry routes into getting into a pension job, into an accounting job, into a finance job. There's school leavers, apprenticeships, there's junior positions, and there's obviously the professional qualifications, which Coral and I have gone through or are going through. A bit about myself and my route, how I've got here. So when I came out of university, I came to Wandsworth Council as a trainee accountant, which involved me applying for the SITFA training scheme, post-qualification training scheme. So as Coral's already mentioned, it's a chartered status once you eventually achieve that qualification. You work, you study, you live, you got to balance all 3 things. You get out out what you put in. So it's not all fun and games, but eventually it will all be fun and games. So I hope that's something you lot can instill into your minds when applying for any kind of professional qualification. In terms of the work aspects, as I mentioned, I was a trainee accountant when I first started. So I was put on a rotational scheme, so where I worked through a few departments at a time, 6 months at a time, getting various skills, experiences and meeting new people. So I've got a wealth of knowledge now from financial accounting, audit and fraud, treasury management, transactional services. And I think this just highlights the opportunities in terms of training and development that the council provides as an employer. Why did I pick the pension fund? I think it's a very niche area of finance. It's a great area if you want to challenge your mind, if you want to learn anything new, where even now I'm learning. There's things that I just don't understand sometimes, and I have to ask my seniors, what is this? Even if it's the most basic question, they're there to help. Support and guidance will always be there. So I enjoy it. It's challenging, but also rewarding at the same time. And I hope for you guys that challenge and the reward is what you aim to bring out in yourselves and want to seek. So I'm here now. The job role entails, as Coral mentioned, it's a heap of work. It's a heap of enjoyment. You get to learn so many brand new things with stuff that you didn't even know existed, which I'm experiencing right now. So all in all, I'm glad I joined the graduate training role, and here we are. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. We can go really quickly to Q&A actually, because
Any
there's
questions?
quite a bit. So I will take over now because I am hosting. And there are quite a few questions. So one of the comments actually was somebody said, let me try to find it. Somebody said, someone made an exclamation that made me laugh. They said, "Wow, I had no idea a job at my local council could lead me into the industry." Shocking, right? And I guess that it's quite obvious that obviously this is just one borough, or, well, two really, and obviously you would expect that every single council across the UK will also have a pension scheme as well. Paul, am I right?
Yes, well, there's 88 pension funds up and down the country. Not every single one will have their own, because if you're a smaller district, you normally would be in the county. So the counties would normally operate the fund on behalf of all of the smaller boroughs within the county, but more the metropolitan ones and the larger ones will have. But like I said, so there's 88 in England and Wales. Scotland operates a slightly different system, so there'd be slightly more in Scotland.
Okay, good to know. Question for the rest of the team. Do you enjoy working for the council? Most fun and least fun aspect of your role, please. Putting you on the spot here. Maybe we go to Gurpreet first, since he's young and has only just joined, and he can share his experience. And then we can go to Martin, because Martin seems really keen.
I was just going to say, Gurpreet, you're on mute.
Martin, why don't you respond in whilst Gurpreet sorts yourself out?
Well, I always say it's the people that we work with is the most the fun part are the people we work with. We've got a good crowd of people here who I find, as a head of service, are very easy to manage, because everyone is although they're focused on the job, they've got a great attitude. And it's been difficult for the last year, because everyone with lockdown and that kind of separation, I think it's been difficult for a lot of people. So it is fun now that we're getting back into that kind of hybrid working. We are meeting each other and having those chats about low quality TV that you really need to have.
And what about your least fun part of working for the council, Martin? Tell us, give us some insight.
Don't say working with me.
That's quite a easy out, isn't it?
Working with Paul.
Yeah, it's that is quite a difficult question to answer, because mine's been quite a positive journey with the council. So I've been here a long time, so I wouldn't be here after all this time if I found it difficult. But as a manager, I suppose the toughest part about a manager is sometimes you have to say no to people. You have to say sometimes, like if you do, we were talking about recruitment earlier, weren't we? And it is tough ringing people and going through an interview and telling them why they didn't succeed on that occasion and trying to be positive, but sometimes you are disappointing people. And if and we're and in terms of like pay rises, we're a public body, and as you know, the squeeze is on, and sometimes you have to say no to a pay rise, but you also have to say yes sometimes to a pay rise and a regrading. But it's not always easy being a manager, but the positives outweigh the negatives.
Sounds like the world and life of an adult there, Martin, honestly. Godfrey, do you want to share your really quick two things and then we can move on?
It's still muted, Godfrey.
Right, as you can probably tell, my miming capabilities are second to none. So the fun thing is the people that you meet. There's a lot of misconception about councils being boring and boring people working there. So the people, the cultures that you meet, the different ideas that you get to experience is the most fun part. The least fun part is, put me on the spot here now. But
it's working with Paul.
He's going to say working for me, actually.
Yeah, the least
okay.
fun part is presenting and realizing that you're still on mute for the fifth time. So yeah, I think it's a great place to work.
This is life on Zoom, Godfrey. I think you're fine. Don't worry. Question for Paul and for Coral, if that's okay. Tips that you'd give a young person trying to secure a role in the industry.
Basically, the main thing would be is don't give up. Like I say, there is always, understand there is many avenues. When I first graduated way back, 95, so it shows how old I am. I looked to try and get into the industry. I wanted to go into the stock market and lead in from that way. I had a law degree, and at that time it was difficult to break in through that particular route. Ended up going through financial services. So I was a financial advisor for a couple of organisations, and then decided, you know what, when family life comes around, that you go and join the local authority. And ironically, it's actually led me to being involved in probably delivering a strategy for something I never would have got had I tried to go into the private sector. So just, don't shut doors, and don't think that by joining an entity in a role that isn't your ideal role does not mean that you can't get there in the end. So even if it's with a different area, even if you're going to go and join, if an opportunity came up as a fund manager, I've got friends that have ended up getting involved in the details, being more involved in the investments, who didn't join in that. They were more in an administrative role, but proved their worth when they're in there and were able to transfer into more of an area which was more suited to their own desires.
100%. Coral?
Agree with everything Paul said, obviously, because he's the boss. But just to add to that, I would say once you're in a job, volunteer for stuff, broaden your experiences proactively. So if you're in a job and it's not the exact job that you want, or it turns out it's not what you were hoping it would be, put yourself forward, get more experience, get known as someone who will help out, and that can only help you in your future career. And also when you're applying for a job, read the job description properly and make sure if it says you need to be able to do this. You've told us you can do it. Because a lot of times looking at job application forms, it's so frustrating. People have addressed 9 out of 10 points. And if they've just addressed that 10th one, which I don't know, they ran out of time, missed, I would have wanted them. They gave really strong answers on 9, missed the 10th one. I can't invite them to interview. So just attention to detail when applying to jobs, and don't be shy of having a go at things.
Absolutely. One for Martin. Martin, the scheme is a £3 billion scheme. If somebody joins the council in whatever role, would they be eligible to join the pension scheme as well?
Yes, that's right. From day one, and we're talking about auto enrolment. Everyone's actually contractually enrolled into the pension scheme on the day one of membership, and it's and that includes death in service cover that comes as part of the pension scheme from day one. So yeah, it's all positive.
Okay, perfect. And what about the profile of your members? So, I guess as a council, you're employing everybody from street cleaners all the way to, office staff, I guess, right? So what about the profile of your members? Can you touch on that?
In terms of
Well, the person actually asked about salary disparities. So I guess low paid all the way to high paid people. So
I may be able to answer that one probably, but more for the
I was hoping to leave that bit out, but sure.
No, I mean, to be honest with you, local authorities is probably the most open and transparent environment you can get in, because the senior salaries are disclosed in our public accounts, so they're out there. So you can earn a very high 6-figure salaries working in local authorities. If you get to become chief exec, it will start with a 2, and we'll have 5 zeros at the end. So you can get to that sort of level. Obviously, there is only one, and we operate for 2 boroughs. But it's not unusual to have a very high sort of salaries around 60,000-70,000 is for many of the managers are on those sort of salaries. And if you become responsible for a number of areas, you will be earning 100,000 plus. So people think that there aren't the opportunities in order to do it. There are very few of us at those high ends, and we cover a massive range of service areas. So we can normally tell by how grey you are and how bad and how many bags under the eyes you've got as to what it is that you're doing. But no, it's not. For people who think that you're not going to earn a good salary, it really is a misconception as to what you can earn. But unfortunately, the more you earn, the more hours you're putting in, and the more stress there is. Unfortunately, in local government, it is exponentially worse off as you're getting higher up, unfortunately, financially. But then you'd expect no better, and you expect me to say nothing less.
We're trying to attract people to the industry, Paul. I don't know if you if you realized. Well, listen, coming from the corporate sector, I can completely relate to the stress. The stress is everywhere. It exists regardless of what industry you're in. So don't worry about it. Coral, a quick question for you. What kind of skills do you look for when you recruit?
For an accounting or investment type role, analytical skills really is going to be high up there, and communication skills and numerical skills. When I'm recruiting, I usually set a test, and the test would be something that proves your ability to use Excel and Word to a reasonable standard. Like you can put a sum in Excel. I don't expect you to be doing goodness knows macros, but a basic standard, and to be able to write comprehend in the exact way that I'm not able to speak at the moment. To be able to write fluently and get your point across clearly, as well. I mean, ideally, it would be some experience of accounting and some accounting skills, depending on what the role is. So if it was a you know, a more trainee role, a more junior role, that wouldn't be a key issue. But if you are applying for something with accountant in the title, it is probably generally going to need some sort of accounting knowledge. Usually, I mean, it's easier if you've got some sort of part qualification to prove that you've got the knowledge, but equally, if you've got knowledge by experience and can answer accounting related questions at interview, that will also get you a long way.
So emphasis on technical skills in your area. Yeah. Gurpreet, I'm going to give you a heads up. The next question is for you. Okay. So get your sound ready.
Let's go.
Okay. So you've just started. What lessons will you relay to other young people who are trying to join the industry?
Okay, so I'll talk from experience on this one. You will get through tons of applications before you even get to the second stage. Do not let that get you down. You have got to keep going and going and going. Like Paul said, even if it isn't where you want to get to, use it as a stepping stone to get to where you want to get to. Do not let it get you down. Do not let the job description get you down. If there's anything in there that you can't relate to, learn it after. Get the job, learn it after. And you'll make it. Of course, the job description does highlight what the skills and capabilities that you do need. And just prepare yourselves. As Martin said earlier, there's the STAR format and there's various other models that you can prepare yourself with. You probably don't know that you've got that experience or skill. You've got to dig that out somewhere, or you've got to ask someone to tell you, or go through mock interviews with someone, or even your family, friends, anyone, and maybe they can speak out. Hold on, you did that one time. Write it down. You can portray that across. So for the youngsters, I'd say keep going. Nearly there. If you're graduating, if you've just graduated, don't give up. You'll get to where you want to get to with a bit of will and determination.
Did you want to say something? Do you want to add something in, Coral?
Yeah, I was just going to say, don't be afraid to ask for feedback after an interview. People are genuinely, although it's a bit upsetting for us to have to say what you didn't do well, you know, if you've done well, we will be happy to say you did well on this bit, you didn't do so well on this. This is what you need to learn to move forward.
Oh, this is all very, very valuable feedback, guys. And if you've been following the skills workshop, I think this is probably the most consistent bit of advice that you will actually receive. Question for you, Martin, really quickly. Are there any initiatives that you're part of to help you to recruit? So I know the government is part of, like, they have this Kickstart initiative. Are you guys part of that?
That's right. Yes, we're part of the Kickstart initiative. We're just getting that going, and the aim is to people who are in danger of being long-term unemployed to get them into the office space and get them started on office working without trying not to use the traditional methods, because you sometimes find a lot of the job adverts are written in a very strange language that doesn't really relate to people, and we're trying to reach out to people and just say, if you have the talent, you will get through. We want to hear from you, and you can learn a lot from being in a workplace environment.
Thank you. And I've also shared details of the Kickstart scheme. I don't know if you guys are part of anything else that you want to mention at all. No? Obviously, you can.
I mean, broadly across the council, not just with us. I mean, there are a massive range of apprenticeship programs that we offer. So even if they're not directly within some of the services and the people talking here today, I've got apprenticeships that run in audit, and we know we've got a lot of assistant procurement officer roles, much more junior roles in there, and trainee roles across. So really do look out on local authority websites, because quite often we are going to be looking for good talent. You don't necessarily have to have the experience, but you just need to have the drive, enthusiasm and skills, and that can be at an entry level. So there will be jobs out there for you.
Fantastic. I'm really pleased that you mentioned this, because actually people normally tend to think the only options really are internships and graduate schemes. So those thinking of actually just not even going to university at all, if they could get into industry in that way, then that's a really, really great tip and a good reminder. We are 1 minute before we finish. One last question that we always ask the speakers, and to be honest, I should have given you guys a heads up, but hey, you know, that's just how we do it over here. What did you want to be when you were growing up? One word answer, no justification. Nobody cares. I'm going to start. I'm going to say, you guys have heard this before. I said I always wanted to be an RAF pilot. Full stop.
Ah, yeah. Mine was a lawyer.
Mine was the same.
I was a vet.
I was the same as you.
I wanted to be
RAF pilot. Obviously, we're talking about, obviously we weren't going to be in IT, were we, Gurpreet?
no. I wanted to be Batman personally.
And Paul, you wanted to be a pilot?
Yeah, I wanted the same as you. So I actually went to apply through Cranwell. So I was going up that sort of pathway after graduating,
Wow.
but decided different avenue in the end.
Yeah, at least you actually went away and you did it. I didn't do anything. We are at time. Thank you so much, everyone. And I hope you all enjoyed learning the perspective of a council and of obviously an asset owner and a pension scheme. As a reminder, all of our sessions are recorded and they're all added to the Skills Workshop website. Please go back, have a look. Of course, we have a few more. Thank you, Joe. We've got a few more coming up. We've got 15 more sessions, and then another 2 in November to help with competency questions. All that's left to do is to thank our speakers. Thank you so much. Connect with us on LinkedIn, those of us who have LinkedIn profiles. And we'll see you on Monday for Dimensional Fund Advisors, who are another asset manager. And we'll see you then. Thank you so much. Enjoy the weekend, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.